show, Scott. Welcome to Financial Issues.
Great to be with you.
Oh, good. I was hoping you could hear me. I wasn't sure if you could hear me. Great. It was really interesting to be glancing through some of the information you put out there. I really need to know something here. Dark money sounds so kind of intriguing, really. I think nefarious is what Sam and Seth called it earlier. Tell us about dark money. What is dark money, Democrat dark money?
Sure. The term was actually coined by the left back in 2010 after the Citizens United decision by the Supreme Court, which said that nonprofit groups and companies and unions, as long as they were not coordinating with candidates, could spend as much money as they wanted in politics. And the left didn't like this, and they used it to refer to a particular type of nonprofit. The 501c4 groups, those are on the conservative side, something like National Rifle Association. On the left, something like League of Conservation Voters. Now, since then, it's been broadened to mean more just any money where you're not sure what the origin of the money was, right? Because in politics, things often pass through two or three entities before they show up in politics. So my book is called Arabella, the Dark Money Network of Left-Wing Billionaires Secretly Transforming America. And the Arabella Network, which we can explain if you like, but the Arabella is a network of for-profits, nonprofits, that takes money from people like Bill Gates and Zuckerberg and Soros and Ford Foundation and spreads it around in our politics.
Well, and that sounds so much like the mafia laundering money to me, opening up all these restaurants and never really serving food, but just putting monies in the register and putting them in the banks from the, washing it through, except from a political point of view. I heard one time where I forget which election it was. It might have been where Clinton said that she received the majority of her donations from under $10 donations, but then somebody traced that to like a half dozen organizations that were just pumping $10 at a time into it, automatically doing donations at $10 at a time, so it wouldn't be over a limit or something, so it would do that. I guess effectively dark money being laundered. When you have millions of dollars, you don't want somebody to know you gave millions of dollars, so you put it through this machine that donates at $10 at a time under false names or something. Is that what we're talking about?
Oh, well, usually the sort of thing you're talking about has the funny name of smurfing.
Smurfing.
Right? Yes, where it's not you have fake donations like that. There's mixed evidence of how much of that has gone on. That is a much trickier thing to try to figure out than because that would be regular political dollars, right? So-called hard dollars, because it is standing up in a campaign. That is different from dark money. Usually is used to refer to things in the nonprofit world.
Okay, so tell us about the dark money. How is it used to affect policy? How is it used to affect politics and politicians?
Sure. Let me give you the 30-second explanation of how the Arabella network works, okay? Because it's the biggest of it. On either side, left or right, it's the largest thing like this. So imagine a pyramid. And at the top of the pyramid, you have Arabella Advisors, which is a for-profit PR company, right? Beltway Bandit, as they're called. So it creates and operates everything below it in the pyramid. In the middle of the pyramid, you have a half a dozen nonprofits of different legal types. And that's where the money comes in, right? Again, if you're a Soros, a Ford Foundation, you write checks to those nonprofits, okay? And then at the base of the pyramid, you have what your listeners are going to see. And that is hundreds and hundreds of fake groups, but they all have wonderful names like Secure Michigan Elections, Floridians for a Fair Shake, Keep Iowa Healthy, right? They want you to think, when you see something from one of those groups, they want you to think that your neighbors were upset about something and they got together and started this group. when in fact it's just some doofus in a DC office who created a website and bought some Facebook ads.
That's interesting. So, and then these groups put these organizations together. How do they coordinate like these No Kings Days and things like that? Obviously, the financing behind it helped, but how do they coordinate it across the nation like they did?
There's one nonprofit that is probably the leading organizer for all the No Kings work, and that's called Indivisible. It was set up right after Trump was elected the first time to oppose him in every way possible and to organize folks across the country. They claim thousands of local groups. Now, that's probably exaggerated somewhat, but the left is enormously good at this kind of organizing. They can have protests in 2,000 cities tomorrow, if it really matters to them, because they have this huge infrastructure. And remember, they're not like conservatives. Conservatives want to be independent-minded. Leftists want to be part of the Borg, right? They aspire to be part of a Borg.
Yeah, part of the Borg. Well said. That's the way it seems, and it seems like they're very good at doing it. Something that I love the independent mindedness, but sometimes it'd be great if we could all get along on this side of the river and be more productive. So this is really kind of scary when the way you're saying all this. What hope is there if they could continuously just create more and more of these organizations as some of them get ratted out or the light shines on them? They just open up another one here, another one there. Is there any hope whatsoever for being able to get to truth on these things and exposing what's really going on?
Well, first of all, you're doing it right here, and you have to realize how powerful what you're doing, educating people about this stuff, is powerful. And that's because something like Arabella, it basically works on the Wizard of Oz principles. Think back to the movie. At the beginning, the wizard's
my favorite
big
movie.
and scary. Well, there you go. At the beginning, the wizard's big and scary, and he really affects Dorothy's behavior. At the end of the movie, the curtain's pulled back, and all that power disappears fast. So what you're doing is pulling the curtain back. But the other thing I'd say is more broadly is I totally understand. In fact, whenever I give a talk, rattling on for a while about all what the organizations the left has and the money it has, because they're the party of the rich, remember. The most common comment I get is, "You really depress me." But what I respond to on that is two things. First, a couple hundred years ago, some backwoods colonials who believed in the principles of America knocked down the biggest empire the world's ever seen. Now, if you're really cynical, you're going to say, yeah, that was 2 centuries ago. Okay, well then right now, what is the number one lefty agenda item above everything else? Silencing you. Now, you may feel powerless after I tell you about all this money and organizations, but if you were powerless, they wouldn't be scared of you speaking. So, after the 2016 election, the next day, Google and Facebook and Twitter, they all were having the big meetings, right? Sobbing, like they blame themselves. And I agree, it is their fault, because by setting up those platforms, they let Americans talk to one another without gatekeepers, without censorship. So ever since, of course, they've been trying to censor and gatekeep.
They tried.
Yeah. Now, but they did it because most Americans mostly agree with what conservatives think. And if you let people hear both sides of these arguments, most Americans will go conservative. So the left has a huge disadvantage. They're fighting reality, including the reality
truth, right?
That reality and truth, and the fact that most Americans don't go for their craziness.
Right, and we saw that with Charlie Kirk going to the colleges. Yeah, you got a lot a lot of foul language, a lot of attacks and stuff, but a whole lot of those students started seeing the reality and truth about what he was saying, and they converted over to being conservative instead of being liberal socialists as they were being taught in their university. So when we speak up, when we actually come together and start speaking the truth, hopefully in love, then that is enough to start impacting and shining the light on the dark money that's going on. And once we expose it, after we pull back the curtain, we then we start to realize that this is just a few men wanting more and more power, and not so much a movement as it looks like on the ground. Is that what I'm hearing?
Exactly. And by the way, I love the fact that you said it's a few men who want more power. We need to go read our St. Augustine, right? There's more than one kind of lust. There's the lust for bodies, which is what we think of. But there's also the lust for power, libido dominandi, right? Domination, power, control. And people need to understand, everybody thinks if I had $1 billion, I'd be on my yacht, in the Caribbean, just getting the sun and drinking rum drinks or something, right? But apparently, for many people who have $1 billion, it does not work that way. They want more and more and more money and power.
Exactly, because that's when you don't have God, you have nothing. So all you can do is get more and more to try to numb that empty pain where Jesus is supposed to be us, where the Holy Spirit's supposed to be in us. The name of the book is Arabella, the Dark Money Network of Leftist Billionaires Transforming America, and it's by our guest, Scott Walter. Scott, thank you so much for being with us. Really appreciate that. Scott is also president of Capital Research Center, and his book is Wherever Books Are Sold. And Seth, I just, that was that
awesome.
Left me with a good feeling, great. Actually, not the ugliness the darkness that it started off with.
Mark, I think it's so important. Scott said, this is why we're here, folks. We want to educate you. We want you all to be able to have this information. It's great stuff. 610-363-1110. We'll be right back after this break. Don't go anywhere.